Hi, my name's Lena,
I'm Priyanka.
and this is our project called Broke and Nourished Simple Meals for College Kids. I live in a house off campus with several other people, so I cook most of my meals. And I have a very small kitchen, which can make cooking elaborate meals kind of challenging, so I try to stick to the simple ones. Throughout the year, though, I've found a few favorites that I will share at the end of this presentation. So here's kind of an overarching explanation of our project. We wanted to research cost-effective meal solutions for college kids, since we know grocery shopping can be a daunting experience if you've never done it before. We know that prices in Seattle are insane, but we found some simple recipes that cost significantly less than eating out, and they can all be modified based on whichever ingredients you have on hand. In this presentation, we will compare prices from three major local grocery stores. We chose ones that are close to campus since we know many students don't have cars and rely on walking or on public transportation. We will then take a look at a helpful cookbook we used that Dr. Gloucester lent to us and share some recipes from it. We've highlighted two simple meals, kind of a step-by-step breakdown throughout this presentation, and then also included some recipes we've made recently with price breakdowns on each ingredient to kind of show the overall cost. The goal with this presentation is to show that it is possible to eat healthy while on a budget as long as you have tools like the resources in this presentation that can help you. At the end of this presentation, we've linked some grocery store websites from the grocery stores that we'll be comparing prices. And then also, we have some recipe cards that are going to be handed out as a PDF link for anyone to kind of look back if they would like inspiration for cooking for themselves. All right, so kind of just again, overview. Eating well in college can be challenging when you're on a tight budget and have limited time. Whether you are a student athlete or you spend hours in meetings or at libraries and you kind of need to pack a meal, this presentation explores practical strategies for preparing affordable, nutritious meals that fit the lifestyle of any student. It covers comparing prices from great major grocery stores against some basic meal prep techniques and simple recipes that prioritize convenience. Whether you're new to cooking and don't know where to start or are just looking to improve your routine, this session offers realistic, sustainable solutions for eating better without overspending.
So here we looked at the online listed prices of what we determined were the most popular stores amongst college students on this campus. I know a lot of us are avid Trader Joe's grocery store shoppers, but these price comparisons show the differences between the most basic of items most of us buy. As you can see, we have pasta from Trader Joe's, where you can get organic pasta for 12 cents an ounce, versus the non-organic options at Safeway listed at 14 cents or at Whole Foods 21 cents an ounce. If you were wanting to opt for the organic option, this actually shows that you would ultimately be spending less, whereas where you'd probably assume that if you bought the non-organic option, it would cost less. Next is oats. People use these for a variety of things, but the most popular is as a base for oatmeal or oatmeal breakfast bars. Safeway has the most competitively priced option at 12 cents per ounce, but it's closely followed by Trader Joe's and Whole Foods by a difference of 6 to 7 cents. Safeway also sells it in the largest container, which, if you may have a roommate or know someone who also wants to buy cheap oats but doesn't need that large of a container, you could split that cost 50% and cut the price of your portions in half as well. As for eggs, we all know that they've been very expensive recently, and even as that price has slowly been able to come down, I know it might be daunting to even look at them now. So luckily we did it for you. Trader Joe's, throughout all this like egg craziness, has consistently had one of the lowest costing options and continues to be. As you can see, though, a dozen cage-free brown eggs at Whole Foods are actually 48 cents each, so they're the cheapest, followed by Trader Joe's at 50 cents each. But from there, we jump all the way to 83 cents each at Safeway, which is unfortunately not the most expensive option out there right now, but definitely if you are on a budget and looking for the cheapest option, definitely would stick to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods if you're a college student. Lastly, we have the staple bread, and we chose to look into the prices of whole wheat bread because of its known nutritional value. Across the board, the price per ounce is very comparable. We have bread for 11 cents an ounce at Trader Joe's, 12 cents an ounce at Whole Foods, and then 16 cents an ounce at Safeway. We were talking amongst ourselves about how we personally have noticed that bread from Trader Joe's doesn't often last as long, or that we don't have enough time to use it all before it goes bad. I would recommend, I personally like to freeze my bread, and that is definitely a way to maximize the amount of use you can get per loaf, especially if you, like myself, are the only one eating that specific loaf. If you are sharing, it may be easier to get through and split the cost, but the overall goal for this chart was to show you price comparisons so that you can make the best decision for your personal situation. Something may be cheaper at Whole Foods, but Safeway or Trader Joe's may be locationally closer, and it's factors like that that will ultimately dictate your access to these foods and these prices as well.
So here is the cookbook that Dr. Gloucester lent us. This is just, I found this from a quick Google search, so you can either ask Dr. Gloucester to borrow it and maybe take some photos of the recipes, or maybe you could order it online. But again, that's like, I guess, if that's within your budget or something you'd like to do. There's also a ton of free recipes available online. I think an important thing when searching online recipes would say, affordable college students just to find something that's not overly expensive or complicated. But this cookbook was very helpful in us kind of consolidating some recipes that we'll show at the end of this presentation. So we started, as I explained earlier, we chose kind of two veins to go down. One was pasta dishes, and one is a stir fry or fried rice iteration of this step-by-step process. And so first is pasta. Pasta is a good base dish for any meal because it is a complex carbohydrate that contains fiber, and it can be paired with a variety of sources of proteins to create a simple yet balanced meal. So here are some examples. You can have some chicken, as you see in the middle, with pesto. Um, Meatballs could be vegetarian or not, and a more simple garnish on pasta. But again, here are three of the hundreds of variations that you could choose from. So first, of course, pick your pasta. This could be your preference. This could be maybe one of the shapes is more or less expensive than the other. Again, there's a lot of options, but pick one that fits with kind of the meal you're making and your budget for that specific meal. Next comes picking your sauce. And so we have here an Alfredo sauce, a marinara sauce, and a pesto sauce. Um, all of these sauces can be store-bought or homemade. Pesto, I think, might be the easiest to make if you just grind up some basil and cheese and nuts, except again, if you don't have a blender, that's not cost effective. So pick your favorite and then pick what kind of fits with your budget. Again, there's like ranging prices of marinara sauce that costs $1 a jar to the very expensive stuff at Whole Foods that costs maybe $10 a jar. And I think here it depends if you're cooking for yourself. Like when I buy a jar of pasta sauce, I'm always hesitant to open it because I know I'm cooking for myself and that would require me to eat a lot of pasta for that week. So maybe buy pasta sauce that's more expensive when you're sharing with your roommates and then you know none of it's going to go to waste, but kind of depends on the situation of when you're having your pasta. Next would be to choose your protein. This is optional, but can make the pasta meal a lot more filling. So here we have some chicken. We have some meatballs. Trader Joe's has a lot of frozen protein options like these meatballs that are fairly inexpensive. Or if you do not eat meat, we have these vegetarian meatballs. Again, these are just a few options of protein you could add. You could add fish, shrimp, whatever you feel fits your budget and is what you're preferring that day. And then another optional step, but can help in making the meal balanced, is adding vegetables. So things like spinach can cook down pretty easily and go into a sauce. A lot of people can also add like spinach to their pesto, which can make it more of a substantive pesto sauce. We have these red peppers and onions as an example. And additionally, broccoli can be really good with Parmesan on pasta. So any vegetable that you kind of feel you have left over can be added to make it a more of a nutritious meal.
All right, and then next we have a very customizable fried rice recipe, basically using leftover or day-old rice and veggies that may be going bad or that you may just have an excess of. you can use to make fried rice. It's a great way to maximize the use of your groceries while getting in a nutritious and, again, highly customizable meal enjoyed in many different ways. So, step one would be to stir fry your leftover rice and your choice of veggies using olive oil. Again, these veggies could be as little or as much as you want. Here I have some pictures of a bunch of different types of veggies in bowls. It could be carrots, broccoli, peas. They have some garlic there, spinach, absolutely anything you want, bell peppers. There's also a picture of frozen veggies, which can often be a really cost-effective option for people in our position. They last a lot longer than, say, your fresh veggies and can definitely just be taken out whenever you feel like making this dish. And then moving on, after stir frying that in some olive oil, you can choose a protein. Traditionally, you always like fry an egg next to the stir fry of leftover rice and veggies, and then stir fry that egg into your mixture. You could also add additional protein, and here I have a picture of Trader Joe's organic chicken or some cooked shrimp that you could add to it. You can definitely add other things. People add beef, people add a variety of different meats that you can choose based on your preference, but these are just some good options. And then lastly, you should definitely add some soy sauce. It's a very, very cost-effective way to add some flavor to your meal. Soy sauce is pretty inexpensive and it's easy to access at like your local grocery store. Even better if you can make your way to an international grocery store, it's even cheaper. And then you top it off with some chili oil if desired. I know not everyone likes spicy food, but I personally really prefer it in things like fried rice. And this again, you could get, I know Trader Joe's has an option of it, but you could also get it from an international grocery store. But yeah.
So moving on, we decided to talk about maybe a breakfast option. So the photo on the left shows some basic ingredients that I used to make my favorite oatmeal. Ironically, this oatmeal I started making about 4 years ago when I was in a bookstore and was kind of flipping through a cookbook similar to the one from Dr. Gloucester that had just like simple recipes. And it caught my eye because it was called baked oats. It doesn't quite turn out like baked oat bars, but it's like a steel cut oat usually and you bake it in the oven. But I took a photo on my phone of this recipe from this cookbook, did not buy the cookbook, and just decided to try it one day because I didn't previously really like oatmeal. And I loved it. The house smelled so good because literally just cooking cinnamon smells amazing. And I would make it for my roommates freshman year, and I still do and they always love kind of how it makes the house smell. But I guess this just goes to show that some basic ingredients, what I have pictured, almond butter and oats are the main one, and then water, which I guess you could use milk to add more protein. But you literally just boil 4.5 cups of water, and then you add the almond butter and the oats, and the almond butter or peanut butter or whatever nut butter adds protein to this. And you then pop it in the oven, and it kind of absorbs all the water, and it's a very nice way to make oatmeal that can last all week. On the opposite side of the screen, we have inspiration for like adding fruits and maybe chocolate chips and such to your oatmeal. I'm a fairly picky eater, so I often just add some brown sugar, maybe some additional almond butter on top. But again, add whatever fruits you have, frozen or fresh. Frozen can maybe be more cost effective and not go bad as easily. Um, so looking at timing, this oatmeal takes about an hour to bake. However, when you're prepping the ingredients, it's literally like 2 to 5 minutes to just put it all in a bowl. So what I will do is if I know I have homework or to clean my room or do laundry, I'll prepare this, clean the dishes, and then throw it in the oven for like an hour, stirring about halfway through. And then I'm killing two birds with one stone by getting my homework or my chores done and then having my oatmeal for the week and I'll literally either transfer it to a container or put tinfoil over it, put it in the fridge, and then every morning of the week, I can pull it out, put it in a bowl. You could heat it up, I guess, with milk on the stove, but the most effective and like quickest way would be just in the microwave, then add your toppings, and it takes about 2 minutes to make before class and is super time efficient in the morning if you don't have time, if you have like an 8:30 class. So again, one of my favorites, and here are the base ingredients, and you can kind of customize it and make it your own. Then here, I decided to take some photos of some meals that I've just been eating kind of throughout the course of this project. And here this is one of my go-to meals before Frisbee practice. I'm a student athlete, so I need to eat a lot to kind of sustain myself through practice. And I like this because it's not too heavy, but it also fills me up. Because if I have to eat maybe an hour and a half before running, I don't want something that's gonna kind of weigh me down. And again, I like that this meal includes protein and vegetables, and a bonus is that it only takes a few minutes to make. So as you can see in the image on the left, these are just the ingredients that I'm using. The Trader Joe's frozen section has a lot of like cheap entrees ranging from these frozen dumplings to gnocchi to orange chicken. And then I like to add, this is fresh broccoli, but fresh or frozen vegetables on the side to make it a whole meal. And then, kind of this part with the numbers, I looked at the prices of each ingredient and then divided that by how much I used. So I kind of estimated if I bought a head of broccoli and maybe I used a third of it, um, I'd say however much the broccoli costs divided by three, and then how much you can see. So the 3.49 is the price of the dumplings, which for six dumplings is a pretty good price. Broccoli is only 57 cents, and then this additional 0.002 cents is this avocado spray, which I use to make the broccoli crispy. And this, my roommates and I share it. And I think the back of the bottle said something like 1,500 servings. So super cost effective to just spray while you're cooking eggs, to spray on vegetables. And Trader Joe's sells it for a very good price. So when I added all this up, I got about $4, which is both cost effective, like significantly less than maybe dumplings and broccoli at a restaurant. But in addition, um, it doesn't take that much time. And microwaving the dumplings takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Cooking the broccoli, I do it in a toaster oven. You could do it in an oven, in a pan. Again, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And for $4 and maybe 10 minutes of your night, you have a healthy, well-rounded meal. And then again, you could do this with Trader Joe's orange chicken. You could use some leftover rice. You could add some vegetables, and you have a meal with minimal ingredients and minimal effort. Um, Here's another one. This includes, I guess, a few more ingredients, but basically pasta with red sauce and vegetarian meatballs. I don't eat red meat, but you could do this with regular meatballs, and then a green salad. So here you can see the prep photos. I don't like tomatoes or cucumbers, but we were making it with some friends, and so we had kind of all the options of the veggies we had available. And then the veggie sausage and veggie meatballs were our options, some red sauce, and price breakdown here again. I looked at a box of pasta and I said, well, if I used, there's 11 servings in the pasta box. I didn't use that much of it. The most expensive here is 2.22 was for three veggie meatballs, which again is a pretty inexpensive price to get some good protein in. And you could add whatever vegetables you have to this salad. You could cook some vegetables in the pasta instead. And pasta, as we mentioned at the beginning, is just a super versatile and simple meal. Fairly inexpensive, good carbs, and overall well-rounded meal that is pretty easy to make in both a small serving for yourself or for roommates or family and friends. You can kind of put in a bunch of boxes of pasta and again have a fairly cheap meal. So next, Priyanka's going to walk us through the three websites of the grocery stores we looked at because they have a lot of resources that I feel like a lot of us go into the grocery store and we know what we want to buy or we see stuff on the shelf, but these websites are super helpful in kind of showing you prices and showing you what you might want to buy and what you might want to make. So first, we will go to the Trader Joe's website.
Yeah. So Lena mentioned earlier that she lives in a house and often makes most of her meals. I am kind of on the exact opposite end of that, where I live in a sorority where most of my meals are made for me, so I don't often have to think about what exactly I'm going to make. But next year I'll be living um, in a live out and I'll be cooking all of my own meals. So I've kind of been on this journey myself, trying to figure out what it's going to look like and how I'm going to have to start making my own meals. So I was on the Trader Joe's website once and realized that they have a whole tab dedicated to just recipes. So you can literally go through their, I'm sure, like maybe like hundreds to maybe like 1,000 recipes here that feature different things, and you can filter them by dinner, lunch, appetizers, breakfast. Say that you were thinking about making something similar to Lena's oatmeal. Like you could look at this, or if you're looking to mix it up, maybe something savory, or just based on like what you might be wanting, like in your personal day-to-day life, but also what might be the most cost effective for you. This would definitely be a good option to look at. And then as you go through the filters of different types of meals or different like time of day meals that you have, you can also look at these things like quick and easy, which as a college student might be your best option. Things that are time effective. And as we all know, a lot of items at Trader Joe's tend to be very cost effective as well. So I would definitely give this a chance and a look at. It is a very good way to kind of plan out your meals without feeling like you don't know what to do with the items that you get. And I clicked on, sorry, did not mean to click on that. That would be kind of where you would, if say you did want to make like the dark chocolate protein pancakes, like it shows you exactly what ingredients, all the ingredients that you would get from Trader Joe's. And then as you scroll down, more like related ones. But these are all items that you could look up on the Trader Joe's website and then add to your shopping list, see the cost of, and I'm sure cost per serving of these pancakes is quite cheap. And it says how long it's going to take, 15 minutes, not very much of your time. And if it serves 2 to 3 people, it might be even less time if you're just serving, say, you. Um, but yeah, I would definitely go through all of these. They do change seasonally as well. So it's never like you'll get sick of any of the meals. As you can see, there are pages and pages, and this is just for breakfast. So definitely could customize this to whatever you're feeling for that day. And then we can go back and look at Safeway and Whole Foods. So I'll start off with Safeway. As we were looking at the price comparisons, I thought that looking at the websites would be something good to show you guys as we were talking about some of the recipes or some of the staples that a lot of college students buy. You can also scroll down, and often there are deals going on all the time. So I'm sure also as students we all get like the coupons like that are sent to our house. Those are definitely worth taking a look at. I know oftentimes maybe a lot of us might think that they're just like junk or that maybe it's never something that you like actually think that you want to buy, but definitely is worth looking at when you're on a budget. And scrolling down further, there's like a deals section. They show you like sale prices, and you can again filter these depending on what you're looking for. I know a lot of us rely on frozen food, um, these BOGO deals, promo codes, coupons, family value packs if you maybe live with a lot of people. But yeah, definitely worth taking a look throughout this as opposed to just going to the grocery store and maybe not buying what is the most cost effective in the moment. But these change pretty often as well, sometimes daily, mostly weekly though. But yeah, just wanted to show that as a resource. And then lastly, we have Whole Foods. This also often shows, this has a weekly sales tab. As you can see, even the first page of the website is showing a way for you to get 20% off. I know a lot of us have Amazon or Amazon Prime accounts. You can get additional discounts if you do have an Amazon Prime account. Um, and Grocery delivery. But yeah, it just shows a lot of like different things that they have currently on sale. And if you were looking to make a specific recipe, you could always look at those. Or if you didn't really know what to make, but maybe intrigued by the price of something, that's definitely worth looking at. Yeah, and then the weekly sales again would change weekly, and these are kind of just a mixture of different types of proteins that maybe you could mix up in your weekly life, different vegetables, different fruits, just a variety of things that all have great nutritional value and could add maybe some variety without having to break the budget. So we can go back here.
All right, so yeah, as Priyanka said, using those store websites is super effective. In a minute, we'll get to these recipe cards, but going back to the grocery stores, I think I have been not living in the dorms since my freshman year, so I've been cooking my own meals since then, and even obviously helping cook like with my parents when I lived at home. And going to the grocery store with my parents since I was little. And I think I didn't really know that grocery store websites existed. And especially like the Trader Joe's, Whole Foods also does kind of have a place um, where you can kind of plan your shopping trip around recipes. I think Trader Joe's is super useful for that because it not only shows you what you need, but it says like here it's a Trader Joe's price item. It means it's at a Trader Joe's price. So if your recipe includes four things and they're each between like $2 to $4, it's a pretty cost-effective way. But again, kind of leaning into the resources is going to make kind of eating healthier on a budget a lot easier. We also, again, using the college cookbook from Dr. Gloucester, made some recipes in a PDF that can be saved. So we have it linked in this presentation that then people can have access to this presentation when they're kind of viewing everyone's on the website. And we did 5 different recipes. So here as we mentioned, like, oh, the baked oatmeal, you simply add these ingredients. Here's a step by step. You take this much nut butter, you take this much steel cut oats, and then I call this one base recipe because you can then, like, here, this photo has nut butter and bananas and chia seeds and such. But this base recipe does not include that much stuff. And then you can just, like, if you're new to cooking, you look at this step by step. You preheat your oven. You can use this as a checklist. You can print it out and it can be there to help you. And then you can come back to it and save it, as I've done, and just make this recipe over and over. So that's our breakfast one. We have our baked oatmeal. And then again, prep on a Sunday night to enjoy all week for a quick and easy breakfast. And kind of a theme for all of ours is use leftovers. So use leftover nuts, fruits, nut butter, whatever you may have on hand to kind of use up food in your fridge or in your pantry before it goes bad.
And as we mentioned earlier, we have a fried rice recipe. Again, it shows how time effective it is. It really only has a 10-minute prep, and here we have everything listed out for you, the day-old rice, the eggs, the measurements of soy sauce, the optional vegetables that you may want to add, whether that be bell peppers, onions, frozen carrots, peas, the optional proteins like I mentioned earlier as well. And these are kind of all listed as the amount of like servings also as well are either like one or two, and we also state here that you could double or triple the recipe if you wanted any more leftovers because we know that we don't always want to sit down and make one meal every single day as opposed to making like a large batch that you could eat throughout the week, which would be a lot more time effective. But we also have the recipe showing step by step the heating, how long you should be cooking everything for, when you add the soy sauce, all the things like that, seasoning it to taste, and then garnishing it, and then serving it however you please. And next we have the stuffed bell peppers. This one takes a little bit more time just for cooking, but like Lena mentioned, the this is similar to the oatmeal in which the prep is very short. And you could pop this in the oven and then just go continue to do your homework or laundry or whatever it is that you may have going on for the day. This is another recipe where you can use leftover rice and say you didn't want to make fried rice again. You could make this and add your choice of protein, and it's a high protein meal with pretty minimal effort. Again, we have the ingredients, obviously, bell peppers, use as little or as many as you need. Ground turkey or ground beef is what we have as listed. They're high protein options and honestly usually the ones that people use to make something like this. Tomatoes, again, onion, garlic, all the things that you may want to use, but it is totally up to you, like very customizable, down to the spices. You could use ground cumin, paprika, salt and pepper to taste, garnish it optionally if you'd like. And we kind of just go through how you preheat it, how you prepare the bell pepper itself, what we put inside of it, and then putting it in the baking dish itself, baking it, how long you bake it for, kind of just all is written out, laid out very, very easily for you to read.
I added a taco bowl, and this one, as the kind of all the recipes we've chose, are very customizable. The cookbook I used listed it as a vegan taco bowl, but obviously you can see this photo has meat, but that could be vegetarian meat. I do use a brand called Corn, Quorn, sold at, I know, Whole Foods, possibly other grocery stores. Has the same texture as beef, and you can add like taco seasoning, and it makes a great alternative. So again, use leftover rice and vegetables. So say you make a bunch of cups of rice, it can kind of sustain you through all of these meals in different ways, which is a super time and cost effective method for cooking. Again, ingredients listed in this list are only for suggestions. So say you don't like corn, leave the corn out. Say instead you want a different type of beans or whatever, you can make it your own. Again, this meal has carbs, protein, and vegetables, and bonus is it takes 15 minutes to prep, then a little bit of cooking for the vegetables, such as like onions, but again, super quick timing, and then add meat or cheese or leave it out to make it vegan or not, depending on your preference. And you can see the list here is super short. Basically, you cook some vegetables, you add it all to a bowl, and you finish it with what you want. Maybe something like cilantro or lime is super expensive. That doesn't make or break this meal. Or again, avocados. Maybe there's a deal on avocados, so one week you make this meal with avocados, the other you don't. It still is an equally delicious meal with kind of whatever your budget allows and whatever you prefer in terms of how your meal tastes. And then this is our last one from the cookbook. It is a pesto pasta. So obviously we've all heard of pesto pasta and maybe we really like it or maybe we've only ever eaten at the dining hall. Here's how you can make it yourself. So again, you want pasta, whatever type. You could do spaghetti. I like a shorter noodle like this because it kind of holds onto the sauce a little bit better. And again, we have our pesto sauce. It can be store-bought or homemade. So maybe you're cooking for all of your roommates and you want kind of a bigger meal. You can make your own pesto, but buying Trader Joe's pesto, for example, super cost effective. And then all these that you want. If you like Parmesan cheese, you add it to taste. Some garlic, you can leave or not have it, up to you. Again, fresh basil. Maybe you think that is a waste of money, but maybe you can sprinkle some additional seasoning that, because fresh basil, like you have to keep in your refrigerator, whereas you could have basil like in the little jars on the shelf that can last forever. So you could add that as an alternative. And here again, this recipe page is friendly for people who have or have not cooked before. So maybe you've never boiled pasta. Here is okay. It tells you according to the directions on the package, but you boil your water, you bring it, you add your pasta step by step. Most of these ingredients are you do a few steps that involve a stovetop or an oven, you put them all in a bowl and you serve, and they are very customizable based on your preferences. So here is our PDF of these recipes. We thought it would be helpful to add images as kind of inspiration. We know these images like look super professional, and it is okay if your food doesn't look like that. It will taste equally as yummy. But the cookbook, if you ever borrow it from Dr. Gloucester or if you buy it yourself, doesn't have images. And at least I know when I'm flipping through websites or cookbooks, I really like to have kind of a visual of what I'll be making. So that is why we did that. Anyone can have access to this. You can share it with family and friends. You can open it in a Google Doc and save it. Up to you, but it is linked in our slideshow here. And then thank you so much for watching our presentation. We used SlidesGo to get this cute little grocery theme. We are open, I guess, in person, via email, whatever, for any questions. We will return the cookbook to Dr. Gloucester so you can use it, take pictures of it, borrow it from her. Thank you for watching our presentation, and we hope that this helped you kind of get a sense of all the resources that are available for cooking on a budget, especially if you are a college student who's kind of new to this and it's daunting. We hope this presentation breaks things down and makes it a little less intimidating.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.